All right, so today is Friday, the 31st of October 2025. Good morning, El, and to every other person on board. Now, like I always say, towards the end of the month, you appraise yourself. How have you been able to, what kind of results have you had in the last, 1 month as a trader? Even beyond 1 month, the last 3 months. Good morning, Nelson. Good morning, Madam Monaji. Good morning. You know, Have you been profitable? Are you still making the same mistakes over and over again? Try to look through your journal. That's if you have one, and try to identify the areas where you're getting it wrong. The times you got it right, take note of it and repeat the same things that you did that made you profitable. That way it's called that you becoming more consistently profitable. Good morning, Mr. Isaac. All right, so with that being said, let's check what we have. Don't forget, we have just 2 months to go for the year 2025. We enter November 1st tomorrow, and we have just 2 months, 2 full months to end 2025. How much have you made this year as a trader, cumulatively? Are you still making profit and losing it, or you are now becoming more consistently profitable? I always tell my students, it's not really about the number of trades you take that matters, it's the quality of the trades. It's quality over quantity. There's no point taking 10 trades in a day and you lose seven, you win three. If it's two trades you can take in a day, or even one trade that is profitable and you can do that consistently, you are much more better that way as a trader than just pumping up trades here and there. And as much as possible, I will advise you avoid, jumping into every Telegram channel looking for signals. Rather, acquire the skill to trade by yourself, which is what we offer at PU Prime. We're empowering you with the skill. We're giving you the analysis, giving you insights into how we trade, how we analyze, so that you can replicate the same. And we do this virtually every day, Monday to Friday, all year round. So take advantage of the uh, insights we're given, the knowledge that we're given at PU Prime to make yourself a better trader. All right, with that being said, let's look at what we have for today. Today, Friday, there are three events that are tradable today. One is the core CPI flash estimate from the Eurozone by 11 a.m. and the CPI flash estimate yearly again from the Eurozone. Both of them are medium impact events. Though combined, we should expect some volatility on the euro. They are not high impact, but if you have two medium impact events, it's as good as you're having one high impact event. So we expect some volatility on the euro pairs. If the data comes out good for the euro, we'll be looking at buying the euro pairs. I will show you the specific ones to look out for. And if it's all bad, we're looking at selling the euro pairs. And later in the afternoon today by 1:30 p.m., there'll be GDP from Canada. That's gross domestic product from Canada. I'll show you my outlook for that also. So let's go straight to the charts and look at all these events. Now, yesterday afternoon, I gave my outlook on the Euro USD in the afternoon session before we had the news release. And somehow the market even broke out into, and I remember saying that I was seeing a symmetrical triangle, on the Euro USD, that if price breaks out upwards, we are buying. If it breaks out downward, we're selling. In anticipation of the news, we expected it to even move after the data for the news was released. But then before the news got released, the market had moved and it already crashed to the downside. But then there's still another opportunity around this instrument today, and that is the news we're expecting from the Eurozone by 11 a.m. this morning. Currently, price is trading around a support zone on the 4-hour time frame for the Euro USD. Price is trading around the support zone on the 4-hour. I'm trying to see if there's an additional confluence. I can't find one at the moment. So let me remove the symmetrical triangle so that we can see it clearly. All right. So price is trading at the support zone on the 4 hour, even on the daily. It's still very much if on in effect on the daily. So technically, we're going to be looking at buying the Euro USD today. If the data from the Eurozone, that's the core CPI flash estimate and the CPI flash estimate, if they come out good for the Euro, we're going to be looking at buying the Euro USD. So take note of this by 11 a.m. If the data comes out all green, you can buy the Euro USD. And the other Euro pair I'm expecting to react to this news will be the Euro AUD. And I've been watching this one for quite some time now. For the Euro AUD, price hit a support zone also in the course of the week, a support on the daily time frame. In fact, not just a support, it's a confluence zone where we have the trend line also meeting. So we have it right here. This is a confluence point where we have the trend line and the support meeting. So technically, we're looking for a bigger bullish movement on the GBP AUD. So if the data again comes out good for the euro in the afternoon, we expect a bullish movement on the euro AUD. So we're bullish on both the euro USD and the euro AUD for the news in the afternoon. But what if the news comes out bad for the euro? I would advise you stay out. But then this euro AUD, technically, if it will still buy, if not immediately after the news, maybe later on as a swing setup, I still expect it to buy. But the news, if it comes out in line with it, that may be the first trigger for the bullish direction. This is a very, very perfect confluence, on the Euro AUD. We're only expecting, like I said, if the news is good for it, fine. If the news comes bad, it will just retrace and eventually it will still break out. So if you're a swing trader, please look at this. This one is beyond the news. It's beyond the news. It's getting set for a massive bullish breakout. And if the breakout happens, we're looking at a potential movement to the tune of about 110 pips of Fibonacci 30.8, about 175 pips of Fibonacci 50, and about 240 pips thereabout of Fibonacci 7.8. So it's a swing setup, but the news might just trigger the initial movement. So we're bullish on both the Euro USD and the Euro AUD. And I will also check for the card. I'm looking at a card instrument. Now this particular one I'm mentioning now actually is actually more under technicals, but then it will also be in shape for the fundamental news we're expecting on the Canadian dollar later in the afternoon. Initially the analysis for pure technical, but it's also the same for the fundamental we're expecting. All right, and that's the CAD JPY. Now, CAD JPY is trading at a resistance level on the daily time frame. So technically, we're looking for a downward movement. There's no additional confluence anywhere. There's none. So we're back to the daily, and we'll go down to the 1 hour. Okay, so this will be the swing version, but then we need something closer. So we'll come down to 1 hour and move up to that region. All right. Yeah, before the news is released, price may still try to move up. But if the news is released and it comes out bad for the Canadian dollar, we'll be looking at selling the card JPY. So we're bearish on the card JPY, very bearish on the card JPY. And potentially we may look at profits in the range of about about 20 pips, or let's just say 22 pips to Fibonacci 38.2, about 45 pips to Fibonacci 50, and about 65 pips to Fibonacci 61.8. That's between 22 pips and 65 pips in movement is anticipated on the CAD JPY. Now, if the news doesn't move much, technically, I still expect that breakout to still happen. So either it happens fundamentally or technically, either ways, I still maintain the bearish outlook on the CAD JPY, except if the data comes out good. And if it comes out good for the CAD, then price will just go and hit this resistance, form a double top, and it will still likely come down. So anyhow it goes, I'm expecting a bearish movement on the CAD JPY. And finally, I'm looking at the NZD JPY. So my two major setup today is actually JPY related, the CAD JPY, the NZD JPY. And the NZD JPY is having the same setup as the CAD JPY. Price hit a resistance on the daily time frame. So we're expecting a downward movement. Also, just like the CAD JPY, no additional confluence. So we'll go straight down to 1 hour. Now, this one seems to have broken out below the neckline, I mean below the trend line, but my gut as an experienced trader is telling me there is a possibility price may still retrace inside before we have a final breakout. So I still want to have some form of support zone there and wait for price to retrace inside, then get ready for a final breakout. So just a second. So let's just watch out for that kind of move on the NZD JPY in the course of today. We are bearish, but we're still looking for a retracement before we have the final breakout. All right. So as a recap, I've analyzed the Euro USD and the Euro AUD, and I said I'm bullish on both for the news that we're expecting by 11 a.m. Bullish on the Euro USD and the Euro AUD. The Euro AUD is actually a swing setup, so it's independent of the news. If the news comes out bad, it doesn't matter. Over time, I expect it to still go bullish. So I look forward to a bullish breakout on the Euro AUD. Then I've analyzed the CAD JPY and the NZD JPY, and I'm bearish on both. The CAD JPY will react more to the news in the afternoon by 1:30 p.m., as the GDP data is released from Canada. So please let's take note of that. Okay, so Bello Oluwafemi is asking me to check BTC USD, and Oluwatoba Adeogun is asking me to check USD JPY. Eddie Funk Gold. So let's roll. So let's check BTC USD. All right, so BTC finally closed on the support zone yesterday. I told you in the afternoon analysis yesterday that we were not getting as much clarity as expected as at that afternoon, but it looks like now we're getting the price already hit a zone from where we could anticipate a movement. I'm seeing something that is looking like an inverse head and shoulder forming here. And if that holds true, then price may still drop to retest this trend line before breaking out. So I'm bullish on the BTC, but then just watch out for what I'm doing also. Inverse head and shoulder, a retest of the trend line, then a breakout. So you are only going to look out for taking a buy trade if price is able to break out above this recent high. I anticipate a further drop at least to touch the trend line. RSI is already above 50, so that's a good one. Uh, but MACD is still below zero, and that tells you that we still have some bearish movement, a slight bearish movement before the breakout happens. But if you're patient enough to watch this pattern form out, then we should see a breakout in the course of today. And from there, you can take a buy as price breaks out above this recent high. So we're bullish on the BTC USD. All right, so this is USD JPY. Price is trading around a resistance on the daily time frame. Still relatively close. We still have that descending trend line. I think let's check if it's still of effect. I think it's still very much, yeah, it's still giving us that confluence. It's still giving us the confluence. All right, so technically we still expect some downtrend movement on the USD JPY, and actually majority of the JPY pairs are looking really bearish. But then let me confirm with gold. Dollar and gold are negatively correlated. The USD JPY sometimes may do its own thing. All right, for USD JPY, price is trading at a resistance zone and also a descending trend line. That's a confluence zone there where we expect price to drop to the downside. And we'll take it down to 1 hour. Now, though it's bearish, but then I strongly believe price might do some pull up here to form a double top before we get a final breakout below the neckline. It may sell, but it may take some time for the pattern to form. But we don't even have any dollar related news today. So I will encourage you to exercise patience and see the possibility of the pattern I drew here forming, which may trigger a downside. But generally, we're bearish on the USD JPY. Now, gold, even though the dollar seems bearish, gold too is still looking kind of bearish. Now, I know technically when we talk about correlation, that looks like an impossible thing. But then the truth is that for gold and dollar, sometimes there are exceptions. So it's not as if it's a hard and fast rule. Now, for gold, this is gold on the 4 hour time frame. That's monthly, daily. I've been telling people I will still try to be cautious with it until tonight. As a cross to the new month, tonight, If if gold closes rather with this pattern on the monthly time frame, this is a rejection candle at a psychological level. We may be experiencing some continued bearish movement even to close the year. That's likely what may happen to gold. Now, that rejection candle on the monthly time frame is trying to form a head and shoulder pattern, shoulder, head, second shoulder, you know, on gold, which might confirm what I'm seeing on the monthly. So the current yesterday candle was actually the second shoulder from where we anticipate the possibility of a decline. So gold is trading currently at a support turned resistance level here from where we may expect price to move downwards. And as a confirmation to that, we had a rejection candle, recently. So we can go down to 15 minutes. Okay, let's start from 1 hour and nothing much on 1 hour. Let's go down to 15 minutes. So price already broke out below the trend line. If price breaks out again below this minor support, then we'll see a further bearish movement on gold. This is kind of forming a head and shoulder within this pattern again. So if price breaks out below this support zone, this minor support zone, then we'll see a bearish movement on gold. So we're bearish on gold. So I've analyzed BTC, USD, JPY, gold, GBP, AUD, NAS 100. All right. And those will be the last set of analysis I'll do. GBP, AUD, and NAS 100. Now there seems to be weakness on the AUD pairs, so GBP, AUD will be looking bullish. But then I will advise you trade with caution, and I'll give my reason. This is GBP, AUD on the daily time frame. We have the daily candle closing at a previous. This is a rejection candle on a previous resistance turn support. Technically, we should have a bullish movement. However, if we go down to the 4-hour time frame, even the 1-hour time frame, we are expecting a breakout to the upside. While this is forming what looks like a triple bottom pattern. But then you need to be cautious. Today is Friday. In the afternoon, if the volatility turns out to be low, we may have a retracement back to this zone. But then don't also forget that today is the last trading day of the month. There are some periods in the week, in the month, that volatility is likely to take place in the market. Fridays, that's why I say trade with caution in the afternoon on Fridays. Don't get caught in the other side of the trend. And even every Friday, be careful in the afternoon. And the last trading day of the month, and coincidentally, the last trading day of the month today is even a Friday. So please trade with a lot of caution, especially in the afternoon today. Now, if price is able to break out above this trend line, if it breaks out above the trend line, yes, we'll see the move to the upside. That is will come with a lot of volatility. But if by afternoon, price has not broken out and draws to this support zone, it may range there before finally breaking to the upside. But all that being said, I'm still much bullish on the GBP AUD. So we're expecting price to break to the upside. You're welcome, L. All right, so finally I look at NAS 100. Okay, I remember clearly we had a bearish outlook on this instrument yesterday, and it moved, but not so much. But then don't forget this instrument is also very, very volatile. So any small move can actually generate some uh very good amount of pips. I think we had a rejection, a psychological level or so from where we looked for a bearish movement. Now you can see that recently the 4-hour candle here ended up as a rejection candle. Price may still go to test the resistance. This is the 4-hour time frame. Then form a double top before we see a reversal. So we may be experiencing a movement back to the resistance. Now, if price returns back to the resistance, you may also go to the 15-minute time frame to see the possibility for entry. The double top on the 4-hour might still take some time. So this is 15 minutes. So if you're able to clearly draw a trend line to whatever pattern, if it's a clear-cut one, from there we may expect a breakout to the downside. So we're expecting a bearish movement on the NAS 100, but in the interim, we expect price to go hit the resistance first, before reversal to the downside. You're welcome, Mr. Isaac. All right, I think that will be all for this morning analysis session. That'll be all. Don't forget to join us by 12:30 for the afternoon analysis. And make sure you're active in all the groups you belong to. I'll drop the link to this recording so that you can watch it over again, for education and to better interpret what we're still expecting in the market in the course of today. All right, do take care and have a great day ahead. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Rotimi. Have a lovely
Sir.
weekend.
You too, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.